Yeah, good morning, everyone. This is Dr. Kumaresh. I am a otolaryngologist, head and neck surgeon, as well as a healthcare entrepreneur and an innovator. My journey started in innovation almost about 6 years back. I was having a very roaring practice, but somehow I felt there was something, lacking in India. And I always believe when the time comes, the offers or the situations will come to you. And that's how I got an offer from my folks back in the US, where they wanted me to lead the where we are planning on something very unique. I can't tell the entire detail, but we were planning to use genetically modified microorganisms to treat cancers. And then, I wanted to have a location where I can confidently ask or associate with someone and will have the setup and all that. Believe me, I would have spent some almost 6 months locating for a good center. And if one is there, the other one was not there. And that's when I realized, you know what? India needs people and India needs doctors who can guide the technologists into the healthcare innovation and entrepreneurship program. And then I spent almost 4 years working with some of the top institutions in the country. And eventually we found things were not moving because there was a mismatch between the doctors and the technologists. And then I realized, innovation or entrepreneurship in the medical field should be led by doctors and it should start from the idea stage, not in the implementation stage. That's where I made a mistake and I learned. And this is almost I will say, my third avatar, where then I joined with another like-minded person who's a technologist who had his own company. And then we thought, let's get into the medical field entrepreneurship. So now with all the medical devices, I joined with my partner. Apart from this, I try to enthuse doctors, healthcare professionals to jump into the field and act as a catalyst more in bringing about an understanding between the technologists and the doctors, helping the doctors to understand what is the need of innovate or what is the need for them to be an entrepreneur in spite of having a successful practice. And as doctors, we always want to have proof that it works. And I believe I have been able to achieve that, where within 18 months of this, I have got close to about 8 products that have global patent pending. And we have presence in 4 countries. We are one of the few to file for a patent and for a freedom to operate in the US. And these are all medical devices which have been clinically validated, which is being used by clinicians and hospitals. And so, when Mr. Prashant and Mr. Ronak came and they said, look, we want this. I said, yes, I'm more than happy if it's going to enthuse or if it's going to make another one doctor or a medical college to get into the program, I'll be more than happy to assist them. And that's the heading of my talk today, innovation on entrepreneurship by healthcare professionals. So, these are my credentials. I'm also a mentor of change for Atal Innovation Mission for the Niti Aayog thing. For ISER Pune, I'm also on the governing council member for the Innovation and Entrepreneurship Council at Bardher University. I'm a consultant for renewable energy. Apart from this, I'm also a mentor for a few startups and for faculties of institutions of national importance. And I've been enthusing all this, and because of all my work, I was also awarded as a distinguished alumni for the PhD institutions. So now, first and foremost, let us answer the question, why medical entrepreneurship? What do you mean by medical entrepreneurship? And what is a need for doctors to get into medical entrepreneurship? If you see the statistics, it's extremely sad. And this is the reason why technologies jump in. They want to fill in the gap or the lack in A, but unfortunately, what they don't understand is the lack in A or the gap can be filled only if they have a doctor in the idea stage. I'll be giving you some examples as we go on so that you'll understand. So if you notice, for a population of 130 crores, we just have a doctor, allopathy doctor of 10 lakhs, and out of which only 10% or 1 lakh work in the public health sector. So then you can find the enormous need we have. And most of the doctors in the rural areas or the so-called doctors they found are quacks. More than 40% are supposed to be quacks who don't have any allopathic degree. And with patients having to pay 70% from their pocket rather than having insurance, the cost factor comes into play. And the cost in the private hospital, they include even the equipments being used. So if you can bring down the price of the equipment, if you can bring down the price of the solution, then the overall cost of the healthcare will also come down. And we all know that India spends less than 1% of their GDP. I'm sorry, this is so sorry about that. And yeah, and so there was such a huge demand that private players came into play. And when there's a complete contrast, I'm sure those who had gone and visited the private hospital, public hospital would have seen this. And I believe each and every one of us has got a role to play in changing this scenario. And my past experience, as I said, I was planning on converting ideas to products. I was getting into what we call it as deep health tech, which is right from artificial intelligence to, bioproducts to blockchain, you name it, I did it. And, I wanted to bring in products that can make healthcare affordable, accessible, and still be patent or publication worthy. Because if you want to scale up, you need to have investors or you need to enthuse your whoever distributor is, and that can happen only if the product has got patent. And this is a case in point. Why do most of them fail? Not only IBM Watson. I'll also say I don't want to mention the company, but a company joined hands with a few people in India for ophthalmology, and I don't think so that has come out great. The reason is most of the technologists think that they can replace doctors. You should understand, healthcare doesn't work unlike the technical field, where in the technical field you need not have to have a person sitting there, but in healthcare, a patient, especially in the rural area, wants to see someone being present physically. If not, he is not going to accept it, or he is not going to accept the treatment being given. And we have to play around that factor. So there are three areas which needs to be addressed as far as healthcare is concerned. One, what is the problem that exists? Two, the patients are the going to be the main ones who are going to be afflicted by the problem, and the physician who plays a major role in addressing both the above two. And so, I always wondered why doctors are not getting in, or why should doctors who already have 15 years enter into entrepreneurship and innovation. When I joined in, when I jumped in, people making fun of me, laughing at me, saying, you're such a huge practice. Why do you want to lose it? Are you a fool? Leave that to the technologies and all that. But now more and more people have realized that, what they said was wrong. So why should doctors jump into entrepreneurship? Let's be very, very, very clear. Doctors or healthcare professionals, they own the flow of care. When I say they own the flow of care, we know what works, what doesn't work. 90% of them jump and think that they know what we want, but that cannot happen. If I'm going to jump into an engineering sector and tell them, look, this is what you want, it's not going to be applicable because they know what they want. In the same way, doctors or healthcare professional knows what we want to make the healthcare much more sustainable and affordable, and how to make things work. And secondly, most startups, having experienced the technical side, they think patients will pay for their products. No, patients will not be willing to pay for the product. When they need to pay and when they find a doctor offering the same, they will go to the doctor rather than to the product. And when they know if they can circumvent you and go to them for a much cheaper rate, they will do that. And so this is another one point. I just white lined, or I just removed the name of the company, not because of anything. I had a chance to, they wanted me to help them out. They wanted my thoughts. They presented all this, and they've been in this field for almost 5 years, and they got a huge investment from a US firm for home health care. And now they are planning to shut it down. But when I met them, I said, look, this will not work, this will fail. And they said, yes, it is failing. That's why we wanted to know why it's failing. Then I told them all this. They realized the mistake, but it was too late. And this is a case in point. And the other case in point are all going to be, I'll show you a few examples. But again, you cannot replace a doctor. Any solution should help the doctor or help the healthcare professional, but you cannot think about circumventing them or overlooking them. That's not going to work if you really want to make a meaningful difference. And this other one, we've been reading in the news about online pharmacies and about how people have been investing, and everyone is being gung-ho about that. But tell me honestly, except during the Corona time, have you ever seen the online pharmacies becoming very, very successful? Not much. If you look at the amount of investment that has gone in and the amount of profits they're making, that's very, very minuscule. And this include not only just online pharmacy, but even the telemedicine. Because the one thing which everyone forgets is this factor, liability. Medical professionals comes under Consumer Act, and if anything goes wrong, who's going to be liable? It is going to be the doctor who's liable, and the doctor will not understand. If you go to the startup will say it's not my problem, and that's where the entire thing falls apart. And I have seen examples where people have gone to online pharmacy for refilling of the prescriptions, and they had reactions, and that became into huge issues. So this is exactly what I tell, because in fact, even I remember in LinkedIn there was someone who said, oh, we are getting into telemedicine, teleradiology, we are doing this, we are doing that. I just said only one: you are gung-ho about having, got about 100 doctors in your fold. But tell me, what are those doctors doing? Are they aware of the liability factor? Are they aware what they're getting in? And, that's it. He just removed me as a connect because they have not done it. Everyone, as long things goes fine, it's fine. And that's the way people in this country think. But no. So why now? After Mr. Modi has come in, he has been promoting the Startup India, and the huge amount of funds are coming in. And post-corona, the emphasis is on healthcare. In fact, if what I heard is correct, Mr. Modi, our Honorable Prime Minister, has blasted most of the technical institutes of excellence, telling them, look, you have been doing so much thing, but why is that in healthcare there is so much of lacking? And he has asked them to concentrate on healthcare. And so there's been no better time for healthcare professionals to jump in than now. And look at this, we have enormous amount of data. In fact, last week also I saw one of the well-known chain of hospitals saying they are tied up with another well-known group technically for data analysis. And this is a sad part where Westerners or people from other countries come, utilize our data, bring in products to us, and we pay for this. It's almost like the yesteryears of East India Company. And this is the other one. This is one of our joint innovation where you can see the video laryngoscope. We have two variants. The one you're seeing is a handheld one, where I found most of the doctors, especially doing liability or factors coming in, they have to record, they have to show proof. But with the regular Macintosh, they cannot do, and the other ones are too costly for them to afford. And that's when we came out with this. And the blade we are using is the same Macintosh blade. And here I'll also stress another point of having a doctor online. Since we are using the same blade, which has already been in existence, we need not have to redo the trials, nor we need not have to go in for clearances, since the blade which is in touch with the patient is the same that is being used regularly. But what we have done, we have changed the solution wherein the same phone which a doctor uses, that acts as a camera, that acts as a light source, that acts as a recorder. So, and some of the common ones, leave alone the Chinese, but most of the common ones will cost about 2 to 3 lakhs minimum. And if you go for a good one, it costs 6 lakhs. But ours is less than 40 to 50,000 rupees. So, you can understand, when we started, we were selling it for 25,000, but now post Corona, every price has increased. So we have increased it, but again, we are 10 times less. And this, the doctor can put it into his or her pocket and go anywhere and show it. In fact, as we are talking, doctor purchased one of these units yesterday because he said he's doing a workshop and he needs to show the importance of showing the patient, the attender, the post procedure of the voice box or how the intubations were done. And most of the entrepreneurs from the technical side, they want to disrupt the healthcare rather than focusing on solving a problem. And this is what it happens. And if one succeeds, you will see about another 20 technical people jumping in, trying to follow, saying, "Oh, we are different. That is different." Nothing. Let's be honest. A bus is a bus. Just because you're going to say it as some bus, this bus, that bus, doesn't mean the bus is going to be different. And this is what it is. No medical innovation can be successful in the absence of strong clinical validation. Let it be anything, even our UVC. We have got the entire range, right from mobile, UVC disinfectant to UVC box to world's first UVC handy, wherein you need not have to put anything inside. You just lift the box and put it there, and it gets disinfected. To something for the airlines. We are only the second in the world to come out with a specific airline one. We got a separate one for a PPE or for the gown and all that. And the one handy which we took was more for the OT chapels. Even the virus or germs can be spread through that. That's why we developed it. And what we do is we give it. We give it to our partners. We give it to everyone to check. We get their feedback, and that's how we do it. And I believe that's how the innovation can become successful. And we don't say in mouth, we test it. For example, our UVC, we are tested in NABL labs. It's being used in hospitals. We get their reports on a regular basis. We are invested on a UVC light meter to check the amount of light coming out. We invested and developed our own UVC dosimeter. It's more of a sticker where you put it on the walls, you can see the efficiency. And all this at the same cost. Just because we are doing it, we don't increase the cost, but we add value. And now we are filed for a patent in the US, and within the next 2 to 3 months, we are expecting our freedom to operate to come, and that's when it's going to be a game changer, because our products are almost 15 times less than what it's being sold in the US. And yes, everyone wants money, but in healthcare, you have to look at volume rather than huge profits. You can make it as a small profit, but the numbers should be able to compensate. And I give the example of the Saravana stores. If anyone had been there in Chennai or from Chennai or heard about it, if you have visited, you don't know. The same chapel will be sold in Bata at a much higher cost, but here it's a cheaper cost. And he says you can go check it and all that. And that's because it gets in bulk. The overheads are all being cut off. The same thing we follow here. And that's what we call it as the famous lean startup theory. And coming to medical colleges is a place where innovation should start or should have started in healthcare, but that's not being done. And they have no idea why or how, which I'll explain at the back. Why medical colleges are so important is they're staffed with domain experts. Let it be a cardiologist, let it be a neurologist, cardiothoracic surgeon, neurosurgeon, anesthetist, ENT, ophthalmology. I can keep on adding. They are the experts, and they can tell you to, how it can be validated. Like, for example, we have got into a project now in artificial intelligence, where we are doing a project for early identification of 2 diseases. So I have roped in the subject matter experts from now one of the well-known medical colleges, and we are just going to start the project. I can't give much info because we are going to start the project and we need to know how it goes. And after filing a patent, probably we'll be able to tell that out. So, the wall, not only you will get enough data, but even the doctors are happy because it's also going to lead to what we call as high index publications. And, now after the recent NMC has come in, NAC has been made mandatory, and both NAC and NIRF give weightage to research and to the public perception. So the public perception will change only if you have very good research and very good, high index publications. And both of these are possible mainly with entrepreneurship or with innovative research. And that's how the IITs made a name. When they started off, if you see most of the products which you see have been either a thesis topic or a research by a student, and the process have been began that, and that's how it is. And so probably 5 years, 10 years down the line, hopefully even the medical colleges in the same uh, scenario, and hopefully then the healthcare will become even more accessible and sustainable than now. And academic, and the other thing is we have to talk about what we call it as intrapreneur. Now, intrapreneur means faculty who's there who's not aware that they are also an entrepreneur. So that's all it is. And where, as I said, a research project, like I'll give you a point in favor of this. I was discussing to one of my colleagues, and he was saying, look, if we had this, it will be nice because our numbers are low because of patients staying there, even though they need not have to stay. So if you can have this solution, it will be nice. And immediately we started working on. It's still in the proof of concept stage, and hopefully we'll be coming out with the product for trials, wherein our goal is to make every room in a hospital as a critical care room. And the onus is not going to be the startup, but the onus will be on the doctor or the nurse or whoever is manning that patient. Now, in spite of all these advantages, why don't doctors become entrepreneurs? If you look at it, there are going to be so many ifs and buts. One, doctors as a breed, they are not very confident of doing what they don't understand, because we always have been trained saying do no harm, do no harm. And now with the liability factor coming in, if you do some mistake you'll be liable. That has always been drilled into our mind from day one, the time we entered the medical colleges. And two, when you enter into entrepreneurship or innovation, that's something very, very new. And doctors always have been as caregivers, and well, not only doctors, even the healthcare professionals, they always have been caregivers looking after the patient. So doing something which is not directly related to the patient, makes them to feel very, very uncomfortable. Three, they think it erodes the medical professionalism. And that's a thing which I want to change by saying, look, even now I practice, I do surgeries, I teach, and still I'm an entrepreneur. And they have a firewall of clinic load, where if you say, most of medicologists say, oh no, I don't have time. But I think that's only an excuse. If you want to find time, you can easily find time. And they assume the cost exceeds the benefits. Maybe initially yes, but in the long term no. They're satisfied with what they are doing now, and that's a surgeon more are interested in operating and more are interested in knowing how they can help other patients clinically and surgically, rather than doing something which may not help them directly. And they think that what got them to where they are now will get them where they want to go. Like, as I said, I was in my peak, then I went almost to no one. Now again I started climbing up, and they don't think networking is important, which is again that's changing. Now these are the other main thing, poor mentoring platforms, and this is where I plan to change it. And a lack of knowledge how to get an idea to market. Most of them think that idea is worth so much. No, idea has got no value. It's the product which comes with the idea has got a value. So you need to work around in finding out who can do it, how to do it, how to work into the regulatory approvals, how to file a IP. So all this, I've been helping my colleagues, I've been helping institutions, and along with one of my friend who is into IP management, I have been giving talks. And hopefully, I hope at least if I can change the perception of few doctors institutions, I'm sure that is going to spread. And my idea is to start engaging faculty and students in the healthcare sector, and doing talks, workshops like this, encouraging them and help them with how to do an IP portfolio management, how to do the how to circumvent the regulatory approvals, or if needed, how to go about it, how they can collaborate and partner and all that. And people should understand, healthcare professionals should understand that it's matter of time, whether they like it or not. Either they can just be side players where others make use of them, or they can jump in and start making changes. And as I said in the beginning, within 18 months, this is what we have achieved. We have come out with a UV bot for hospitals, for hospitality industry. We got exclusively for airlines. We have got for common items like medical devices, your wallets, and all that. We have got a no-touch disinfection unit. We have a PPE disinfection unit, and we have come out with a handheld Android. And the beauty of it is, our patent is because we are the world's first, wherein anywhere across the world can do the procedure, and anywhere across the world can see in real time and guide them in real time. Just imagine in ambulance, you've got some paramedic who doesn't know how to intubate, and he does it, and a doctor in the hospital guide him. Not only we can save lives, but this is a very, very unique concept, and that's our patent for. And all this comes only if you're a doctor, where this is what you need, this is a lacune and all that. And these are the things which we're working right now. As I said, when I got into pulled in my colleagues for early detection of diseases. Then I had one of the well-known pathologists saying, what, this gives me a headache. Can you help me out with this? So we have started this. We are coming out with a very, very smart electronic stethoscope, which is going to be a world's first, which I will tell you once we file for a patent. We are coming out with something known as a smart IV fluid monitor, where let's say if someone is getting a chemo or something, and if there is going to be a reaction, even before the reaction can come, the doctor or the nurse will know. And being a doctor, I know what are things which happen. So we're using it to measure, and none of these will be very costly. Everything will be much, 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 much less than the what is available in the world market. But everything would have undergone the clinical validations. Everything would have undergone regulatory approvals. Like for let's say if our UVC or video laryngoscope, as of now there are no regulatory requirements in India. So we follow the US regulatory requirements, and we are FIFRA compliant and FDA exempt. So everything we make sure, because we are dealing with patients. As I said, we are coming out with the IoT enabled monitoring system, which will change any room into critical care unit. And the last one is, we are coming out with a smart toilet system. This again given by a doctor. He said, most of our patients are aged. When they go, there's infection. Can you help us out? And another doctor said, look, they don't even flush the toilets. So then we have come out with a unique solution, which is undergoing trials, wherein we have included a lot of automatic things, which will again be IP. And anything which is not patent worthy, I don't even touch them, because then it's of no value neither to you, nor to the community, nor to anyone, because that means there's no difference between you or another country, and you can never scale up. And tomorrow the liability factor is going to be on those who have faith in you and going to use. So with this, I just will stop. And if anyone wants to get in touch, or if you have an idea which, or an out of box thought which you want to convert into idea or into a product and don't know how, you can always get in touch. I prefer an email rather than people giving me call. You can WhatsApp me and all that, and yes, we can guide it, or you can get in touch with the Mr. Prashant or the team, and we can help you out. And if you want to be a partners also, we are open. You can get in touch with them. Thank you.